Hi, today we are going to talk about functions in Python. Sometimes you have code that needs to be repeatedly used in a Python program, or some general piece of code that repeatedly needs to be used in several Python programs. Now, instead of writing the lines over and over again and extending your program size, you can simply define functions and call them wherever you need to. So, let's learn how to make functions in Python. Now let's start off with some silly functions, or let me call them simple functions. So for defining a function, okay, you need to use def, okay, which is the keyword. Then you have to put the function name, okay, whatever name you want, and then some variable that you want to give to the function, okay. So now what I'm doing is I'm creating a simple function to check if a number x is even or odd. Okay, so for that I'm defining a function called even odd, okay, and I'm giving it the variable x. What this function will, and then again I have to put the colon just like you saw in loops, and then one indentation inside whatever code I write is the code that is run if this function is called. So for checking if a number is even or odd, I'll use if condition. Condition is x percentage 2. Okay, percentage will give us the remainder. I hope you remember that. If x percentage 2 is 0, that means that x is divisible by 2. Then you have to do print even, else print odd. Okay, so now this is a very basic function that I have written, okay, which will tell you if a number is even or odd. So what we'll do is we will define a list. Okay, let's do this normally. Okay, number is equal to 45. Okay, now what I have to do is I have to call this function with number inside it. Okay, sorry, I have to call the function not by defining it, by its name. So there. So now when I define number is 45, and even odd, and to even odd I'm giving this variable number. Okay, if I run this program, it's gonna say that it's odd. Okay, I can either do it this way or I can do it this way, even odd bracket and put a number here, 22. Even this will work. So it says that 22 is even. Okay, so this is how I'm calling a function. So basically this is defining a function, okay, and both of these are calling a function, right? So this was a very simple function. I can even do it this way. I can also call a function to a list of numbers. So list is list1 is equal to, let me put a list of number. Okay, so these are list. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll run a for number in, or let me just for number in list 1. Okay, I will just do even odd numbers. There we go. So for a number in list 1, I will do even odd number. There we go. So this will print out the odd and even thing for the entire list. Okay, so let me just print. There you go. Checking for entire list, odd, even, odd. Right? So this is how you can call a function, or you can use the function anywhere. Right? You can use it in a loop. So this is a very simple function. Now let us go and make some slightly complex not complex, but maybe more practical function. Okay, one moment, let me just comment this out, and let's move on to a slightly more practical example. So what we'll do is we will uh, create a function, okay, write a function that collects a person's data, or collect users data. Okay, so I'm writing a function that collects user data. So I will call the function details, or yeah, details. Okay, and I'm not giving it any variable as of now. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do string1 is equal to input, and I will ask the user to input his details. Please enter your name, age, sex and location, and I want this separated by a comma. Okay, so this is the instruction that I've given the people: enter your name, age, sex and location separated by a comma. Okay, once we get this string1, okay, I'm going to convert it to a list. Okay, so list1 is equal to string1 dot split. Remember splitting a list? And I want to split the list on a comma. Okay, so what this will do is all the four values which the user has entered, okay, separated by a comma in the string, okay, every time there's a comma, a new list element will be created. So name, age, sex, location, comma, 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 comma. Okay, that way. And then I want to return, okay, I want to return a tuple which is list 0, sorry, it's list 1, list 1 0, list 1 1, comma, list 1 2, comma, list 1. So I'm returning all those values separately to the uh, function, which is to the section of the program which is calling the function. Okay, so let's see how this works. So to run the function, or just to call the function, I have to just do details. Okay, so but this will not work. So okay, 1 minute. Since it returns something, it returns a tuple, I have to actually create a tuple called user details, okay, is equal to, and then details. Okay, this is how I'm calling the function. So here again I'm defining a function. Now since this function is returning some data, I need to store that data in the variable. So here I'm calling a function and storing the returned value in a variable, which in this case is user details. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll just print user underscore details. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do just now. Okay, so I'll run this here. Okay, there is a full stop here which I have made mistake. Okay, done. Yeah, please enter your name, age, sex, location by separated by a comma. So I'll just put my name, age, sex and Mumbai. All of this separated by a comma. Once I do this straight, it separates what I entered: name, age, sex, location. Okay, it returns it to user details, and then when I'm printing the user details, I'm getting this. Okay, now as you can see, this is a tuple. Okay, so if I do print type details, okay, it is a tuple. Again, it's asking for name, age, sex, location. Name is Janak, age, sex, and there we go. There you go. So there is showing that the type is a class which is a tuple, right? So now I can unpack the tuple directly. Okay. Now there are two ways of unpacking the tuple. Okay, one is that I assign name is equal to user underscore details 0. This way. Print name. This is one way of unpacking the tuple, where I will have to again write everything. There you go. So now it's just isolating my name. Okay. But there is a direct way to unpack the tuple. This we have learnt in tuple, so it's just like a revision for all of you. Okay. So how to directly unpack a tuple is I'll put the four variables name, comma age, comma sex, comma location is equal to, and then what I'll do is I will just call the function details. Sorry, not in a bracket. I'll just call the function called details, and there we go. So instead of doing all this, okay, if I just did this, okay, and then if I were to do print name, print age, print sex, print look, there we go. This is going to work like a charm. Okay, so let's try this again. Enter name, age. There you go. See, it's been unpacked. And then later on, for whatever purposes, I can use all these variables and run my program accordingly, right? So this is one function. Okay, this is one function that I've defined that collects user data. Now what I'm going to do is write a function that checks the user data and gives an appropriate response. Okay, so now from this user data, whatever I obtained, okay, I will define a function, okay, called a response, okay, and I will give it the name and the sex to the function. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll put an if loop. Okay, so if sex is equal to m, print Mr. and then whatever is placeholder dot format name. Format, okay, yeah, there we go. Now I have to do if sex is equal to print Mrs. this thing placeholder dot format name. Okay, so now what it's gonna do is this function is gonna check for your name and sex. Okay, set f just out so that the user knows what to enter, and we are good. Okay, now if I have to run this program, okay, so this is how it's gonna look like. I'm defining the function details where it collects the user details. I'm writing a function called response which checks those details and gives a response. Now I'm calling the function details, okay, and I'm unpacking the thing into four variables, which is name, age, sex, and location, okay. And now I'm going to give it these values, and I'm going to call the response function, okay, which will give us Mr. or Mrs. And in the response function, I'll put name. In fact, just for simplicity, let me put name 1, age 1, sex 1, and location 1. Name 1, age 1. So out here, I'm giving it the two variables name 1 and sex 1. Okay, and it will give either one of these output, Mr. name or Mrs. name. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just print the next statement that I want. Welcome to the club. Okay, So now what this will do is, let's see. Please enter your name, age, sex, location. Now I'll put some girl's name. I'll put Pooja. Some age will be 35. Sex female. Delhi. Okay. So if I enter this, okay, it first printed out all these things. Okay, because I have given this print command. It need not do that. I can comment it out later. Miss Pooja, welcome to the club. Okay, so this is how your functions are utilized. Now you will think that okay, this is very silly and all, but let me tell you one thing. Okay, this program is called functions in Python. Okay, I have made a mistake with the program name, so I will rename this. Okay, one moment. And the best part about Python is calling a function from another program into a new program. Okay, so I'm creating a new program here. I'm going to save it as functions. Okay, and I'm doing it in the same program where this functions in Python wala folder is there. Okay, I will rename this also. So functions new karke there's a program, and here I have defined these functions. Okay, whereas here I have not done anything. Okay, so now wait, let me just rename this. I'll just rename it to functions. Now I'm opening this functions in Python again. Okay, and I'm deleting this the function calls. Okay, so now this program only contains this one function here and this one function here. The first function returns a list of 4 variables. The second function takes in 2 variables. Okay, this is it. So in functions in Python, there are just 2 functions that are there. Now I can go to functions new. Okay, and I can import those functions in this so that I don't need to write all that code again. So what I have to do is from functions in Python import details. Okay, now when I call the details, okay, for calling, as I said, it returns a tuple of 4 variables. So I'm assigning this value to the tuple user details, and I'll just print it out here. So now this program is a brand new program, functions new. I've called that function in this program, and I'm just printing out the returned values. So now when you see this, I will type again the same thing. There, the function works like a charm. Okay, similarly, if I want to import both the functions, I can do that also. I can import details comma response. Okay, and I can call that response function also. In that I have to give it the name and the sex. So name is user underscore details 0, and the sex is user underscore details 1, the third thing, right? So 0 1 2, so sex is the third thing, so 2. So now it will print Mr. Janak or whatever it is. So once I run this again it's asking me. So I will this time, okay, again let me type girl's name Pooja, age, there we go, Mrs. Pooja, there you go. So you see how it works. This is how this functions, how useful functions is. Okay, you need to write it once and then you can use it as many times as you want, in as long as that functions wala folder, that functions wala Python file is there in the same Python folder in which your new in which your new file is there. That is the only condition. You can import it. So this was a one basic function. Okay, that is. So I'll give you one last example of a function before we get done with this video. Okay, what I'll do is I'll create a list of users. Okay, and we will check if a entered username is present in that list or not. Okay. So what I'll do is function to check if user exists. Okay. But what I'll do, I will write this function in this only, in the functions wala thing. So function to check if user from a list. So I have to give this function a list to check in. Okay. So here goes. Define check user, and to this function what I give it is a username comma list 1. I give it a list and a username. Now it has to check if username is there in list 1. So if username in list 1, print hi whatever comma welcome to the club dot format user, right? And if it's not there, obviously, now what you do is you print new user details required. Okay. So we have defined the check user function here. Okay, in functions wala thing. And now we'll go to new functions. Okay, we are going to first import it. So check underscore user is important. Create a list of user list. Okay. And in this list put some generic names, John, Don, Bob, J, uh, Sam. Now obviously this is wrong because I need to give quotation marks to every name that otherwise it will be taken as one string. So every string that I'm entering, the separate name has to be in separate quotation. So this is a user list. Okay. Now what I have to do is comment this out. User list. Now what I'll do is I'll put an input. User is equal to input, and now what I'm gonna do is once this user inputs the username, I'm going to give this check. I'm gonna call this function. Okay, and I have to give it the username, that is user comma, and the list name. Now it will check if user is there in the user list and give us a reply accordingly. So please enter username. I'll put Janak. New user detail required. If I do it, please enter username. I'll put John. Hi John, welcome to the club. So this function works very well. Now we can take this code a step further. So if the user doesn't exist, okay, what we have done is new user details required. What we can also do is we can define a variable called user details, okay, is equal to, and we can call the details function here only. Okay, so if the user is not there, you can call this details function which will run this entire code. Okay, so okay, so now what I'll do is I will go here. Okay, and I will run this code again. Okay, enter the username please. I will say Janak. Now obviously Janak is not there in this list, so it's going to tell me new user details required. Please enter your name, age, sex and all that. So Janak, there I'm entering, values entered, and your function is working properly. So with this example, I hope you have understood quite a few things of how you can import a function from another program. You don't need to write the code. You can call a function within a function in order to avoid writing that piece of code again. And yeah, so when you are writing your program, please ensure that you are using as many functions as you can, so that your program ka code becomes a very nice modular code. So that's it with functions in Python. We'll see you in the next video.